ever lay awake at night, just like totally consumed by a story?
Oh, yeah.
One that just doesn't have an ending. Those mysteries that just like, you can't shake the feeling that something is unresolved. It's like a puzzle with missing pieces. I think it really taps into this fundamental desire we have as humans for things to be complete,
Well,
for justice to be served.
yeah, absolutely.
And when a case goes cold, especially a serious one, it's like a tear in the fabric of our understanding. Like it shows us that sometimes the answers just aren't there.
It's such a powerful way to put it. It's not just about the intellectual curiosity either.
Right.
It touches on our deep-seated need for resolution.
Yeah.
An unsolved mystery leaves a void.
Yeah.
And human nature abhors a vacuum. So we try to fill it with theories, speculation, all that stuff.
Right.
And perhaps that's a way of grappling with the uncomfortable reality that some questions may never be answered.
Well, that's the kind of territory we're exploring today. We're diving deep into some seriously compelling material. Excerpts from Unsolved Mysteries, the cases that keep us up at night. It's the very first episode of this podcast called True Crime Chronicles.
Awesome.
And this episode, it really throws you into the deep end of these enduring puzzles. And it just feels like it's made for anyone who's ever found themselves like lost in the twists and turns of a story with no final chapter. Have you had a chance to listen to True Crime Chronicles?
I have, yeah. It's a really interesting podcast.
Yeah.
They pick some good cases.
Yeah.
One thing that really struck me was how they frame these cases beyond just the crime itself. It highlights the lasting impact,
Right.
the ripples that spread through the lives of individuals and even entire communities. The lack of resolution becomes a defining part of the narrative,
Yeah.
shaping how these events are remembered and understood.
Absolutely. So our mission today is to really get to grips with the specific unsolved cases featured in this True Crime Chronicles episode. We want to lay out the key facts, understand the context of these events, and crucially, identify those persistent, unanswered questions that continue to fuel discussion and investigation.
I like it.
Think of this as your quick but comprehensive guide to understanding these enduring enigmas without getting lost in those endless internet rabbit holes.
Right, yeah, because you can spend hours
Oh my gosh.
going down those.
Days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe by examining these cases, we can also gain some insight into why they continue to fascinate us so deeply.
Yeah.
What is it about these particular stories that holds our attention, even years, decades later?
Okay, so let's dive into the first one. We're looking at the disappearance of Maura Murray, a nursing student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Back in 2004, she vanished after a car crash on a pretty isolated road in New Hampshire. It's been close to 20 years, and there's still so much uncertainty surrounding her disappearance. So much unknown.
It's a really interesting case. The Maura Murray case, it kind of presents us with this blank slate in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, they mentioned the sheer variety of theories that have emerged. Everything from a planned disappearance, like maybe she wanted to start a new life, to the possibility of foul play.
Right.
What I think is so fascinating here is that there's no strong central piece of evidence that clearly supports one theory over another.
Right.
Do you think that very ambiguity is part of the reason it's remained so popular?
Yeah, I think it definitely leaves a lot of room for speculation, right? You know, the lack of a clear narrative, it allows people to project their own ideas and interpretations onto the case.
Yeah.
But I think what True Crime Chronicles also does is it really brings home the personal tragedy of it all. This isn't just some riddle to be solved.
Right.
It's a young life that was abruptly interrupted, a family left in this agonizing state of not knowing. I mean, I can only imagine the ongoing pain and that constant search for answers that they have had to endure for almost 20 years.
And that element of prolonged uncertainty, it's so critical because closure, even when it involves accepting a painful truth,
Yeah.
can allow for a degree of psychological processing and eventual healing.
Yeah.
The absence of that closure, like in Maura's case, keeps that hope alive, but it also perpetuates a state of limbo and unanswered grief for those left behind.
Absolutely. Okay, so the True Crime Chronicles episode then turns to a really unsettling case. And this one is the Long Island serial killer. So the discovery of remains and the True Crime Chronicles episode indicates possibly up to 16 individuals along Gilgo Beach over a period of around 2 decades. That is a truly staggering number of victims.
It is, yeah. And what's particularly significant and disturbing about this case is that the victims were predominantly young women involved in the sex trade.
Sure.
And this immediately brings in a complex layer of societal factors. It raises important questions about how societal biases and the marginalization of certain communities can, unfortunately, impact how seriously such cases are initially investigated and the resources dedicated to solving them.
Yeah, that's such an important point to consider. And the episode highlights that despite significant media attention and extensive efforts by law enforcement over many years, the identity of the killer or killers remains unknown.
Right.
It's almost hard to believe given the number of victims and the length of time that has passed.
Yeah, it really underscores the immense complexities involved in investigating serial crimes, particularly when victims come from vulnerable populations.
Yeah,
There can be significant challenges in gathering reliable information, accurately identifying victims, and building trust within those communities.
right.
The geographical aspect, the bodies being discovered along a remote stretch of coastline, also presents considerable logistical hurdles for investigators.
Okay. So the True Crime Chronicles episode then shifts to offer some broader expert insights, almost like a guide for understanding these types of cases.
Okay.
And the first point it emphasizes is the importance of context.
Hmm.
Geographical, social, historical. Why is having that kind of framework so crucial in your experience?
Well, context provides the backdrop against which these events play out.
Right.
So, for example, understanding the social dynamics within the communities connected to Maura Murray's disappearance,
Yeah.
or the specific circumstances and challenges faced by the victims in the Long Island serial killer case,
Right.
can reveal potential connections, underlying motives, or aspects that might have been initially overlooked.
Okay.
Geography in particular can offer clues about how crimes might have been committed, where evidence might be found, or even potential escape routes.
And then the True Crime Chronicles episode focuses on seemingly insignificant details. It's like nothing should be dismissed as too minor to consider.
Exactly. Often, in unsolved cases, the key to unlocking the mystery lies in a detail that initially seemed unimportant or irrelevant,
Oh, interesting.
like a seemingly offhand comment from a witness, a piece of evidence that was miscatalogued. Revisiting these small elements with fresh perspective and in light of new information can sometimes provide the crucial breakthrough.
The True Crime Chronicles episode also brings up the idea of looking for broader patterns, connecting the dots across different cases.
Hmm.
The example it gives is considering potential links between the Long Island serial killer and other unsolved serial murders. How valuable can that kind of comparative analysis be?
Identifying patterns is a fundamental aspect of criminal investigation.
Okay.
Similarities in the profiles of victims, the methods used in the crimes, or even the geographical locations of incidents across different unsolved cases can suggest the possibility of a single perpetrator
Right.
or a related group of offenders. This can help investigators narrow their focus, develop suspect profiles, and potentially link seemingly disparate events.
Now, this is an interesting point raised by the episode. The idea of engaging with online communities for theories and insights. That feels like it could be both really helpful and potentially a minefield of misinformation. What's your take on that?
You're absolutely right. That's a very balanced perspective.
Yeah.
Online communities dedicated to unsolved mysteries
Yeah.
can be a valuable source of crowdsourced information, fresh perspectives, and the collective memory of many individuals.
Right.
But it's essential to approach them with a high degree of critical thinking.
Yeah.
Not all theories are created equal.
Right.
Not all of them will be credible or based on factual information.
Yeah.
However, the sheer number of people engaging with these cases online can sometimes lead to the identification of overlooked details or connections that professional investigators might not have considered.
Yeah.
The key is to discern well-reasoned analysis from speculation
Yeah.
and to always prioritize verified information.
Mm. And then the True Crime Chronicles episode touches on a more classic investigative principle, following the money.
Oh, yeah.
It suggests looking into financial transactions, inheritances, debts. It sounds almost too simple, but how often can financial motives play a significant role in these kinds of cases?
Well, financial motives are indeed a significant factor in many types of criminal activity,
Yeah.
whether it's the promise of life insurance payouts,
Right.
the resolution of debts,
Yeah.
or financial gain through illicit activities.
Yeah.
Money can be a powerful motivator. Investigating financial records can sometimes uncover hidden connections between individuals, potential suspects who stood to benefit,
Oh, wow.
or even provide an explanation for seemingly inexplicable disappearances.
Okay, I kind of want to shift our focus a little bit.
Okay.
The source has this section it calls Outside the Box Tips,
Mm-hmm.
which I find intriguing. It encourages exploring less conventional sources like personal blogs, local folklore, and even artistic representations. That's not something you often hear mentioned in like mainstream discussions of crime. What do you think about that?
I think it's really compelling
Yeah.
because it's saying that valuable insights might exist outside of the traditional realms of official documentation and media
Yeah.
reports. Personal blogs can offer these intimate glimpses into a victim's life, their relationships, their concerns, that might not be present in police files.
Yeah.
Local folklore or community stories, while not necessarily factual, could sometimes reflect a collective understanding or suspicion surrounding an event.
Yeah.
Artistic expressions, such as poems or paintings relating to a case, might tap into underlying emotional or psychological aspects that can offer a different kind of insight.
Yeah.
It's about broadening our search for understanding and considering unconventional avenues of information.
And then there's the suggestion to consider psychological profiles of both victims and potential suspects to better understand motives and behaviors. How much can psychology really contribute to solving these cold cases?
Well, psychological profiling can be a really valuable tool for gaining a deeper understanding of the human elements involved in a crime.
Mm-hmm.
So by analyzing victimology, that is, the characteristics of the victims and the circumstances surrounding the crime, profilers can develop insights into the likely personality traits, motivations, and behavioral patterns of the perpetrator.
Yeah.
Similarly, understanding the psychological makeup of the victim can sometimes shed light on their actions and relationships leading up to their disappearance or death.
Right.
While it's not an exact science, it can provide crucial leads and help narrow the scope of the investigation.
The True Crime Chronicles episode then emphasizes the vital role of investigative journalists, and it uses Michelle McNamara and her work on the Golden State Killer case as a prime example. What a remarkable story of dedication and impact.
Yeah, Michelle McNamara's work is a powerful demonstration of the impact that persistent, in-depth investigation and public engagement can have.
Yeah.
Her meticulous research into the Golden State Killer case, which she chronicled in her book, All Be Gone in the Dark, not only kept the case in the public consciousness for years, but also played a significant role in the eventual identification and arrest of the perpetrator.
It's amazing.
It truly highlighted the potential of citizen detectives and the crucial contribution of independent, thorough reporting.
Yeah, it's amazing how her book just seemed to ignite this new wave of interest in cold cases and the potential for everyday individuals to contribute to solving them.
Absolutely. It showed that the collective desire for justice, combined with rigorous research and analysis, can be a powerful force, even in cases that have remained unsolved for decades.
Now, for a bit of a quirky fact,
Okay?
I was surprised to learn from True Crime Chronicles that the term serial killer was only coined in the 1970s. That seems relatively recent for a phenomenon that has clearly existed much longer.
What's fascinating about that is how the formal naming of a phenomenon can shape our understanding and response to it. Before the 1970s, instances of multiple victim homicides committed by the same individual might have been viewed as isolated, albeit horrific events, rather than being recognized as a pattern indicative of a specific type of offender. The coining of the term serial killer led to the development of specialized investigative techniques, the sharing of information across jurisdictions, and a greater focus on the psychological and behavioral characteristics of these criminals.
True Crime Chronicles then discusses the impact of DNA technology, which has obviously been revolutionary in solving crimes.
Oh, for sure.
But the episode also points out its limitations, particularly for older cases where evidence might be lost or degraded. That must be so frustrating for investigators working on cold cases.
It is. DNA technology has undeniably transformed criminal investigations, providing the key to solving countless cold cases that once seemed hopeless.
Right.
However, the unfortunate reality is that for many older cases, especially those predating the widespread use of DNA analysis, crucial evidence may have been mishandled, lost, or degraded over time, rendering DNA testing either impossible or inconclusive.
Right.
This highlights the ongoing challenges in bringing justice to victims of crimes committed before the advent of modern forensic science.
So as we're bringing all of this together, True Crime Chronicles really emphasizes that the enduring intrigue of unsolved cases lies in their ability to capture our imaginations and make us question the world around us. It's that constant reminder that sometimes truth really is stranger than fiction, and that a neat resolution isn't always guaranteed.
That's a crucial point to take away.
Hmm.
These cases tap into a very fundamental aspect of human psychology,
Yeah.
our inherent desire for narrative closure.
Yeah.
When that closure is absent, it creates a space for speculation, for the development of theories, and for a persistent questioning of what truly happened. These serve as stark reminders of the uncertainties that exist in life and the limitations of our understanding and control.
Which leads us to a final thought for you, our listener. As you've heard about the disappearance of Maura Murray and the haunting case of the Long Island serial killer, consider what our continued fascination with these unsolved mysteries reveals about ourselves and our society's deep-seated need for answers.
It is something to think about.
It is.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's briefly revisit what we've explored today. We delved into the specifics of the Maura Murray case and the Long Island serial killer investigation,
Right.
examining the key details and the enduring questions that remain unanswered.
Yeah.
We discussed the critical importance of understanding context, the potential significance of even the smallest details, the complex role of online communities, and the profound impact of investigative journalism and technological advancements on our understanding of these enduring enigmas.
It's amazing how much progress has been made.
It really is.
Yeah.
And for our very last thought today, consider the ethical dimensions of our fascination with true crime, particularly when cases remain unresolved. How do we navigate our natural curiosity while maintaining the utmost respect for the victims and their families who continue to live with this profound uncertainty?
Yeah.
What responsibility do we as informed individuals have in how we engage with these narratives and contribute to the ongoing discussions surrounding them?
That's a great question.
It's definitely a question that deserves careful consideration long after this deep dive concludes.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. Until next time.
Thanks for having me.
Bye. Bye.